Here we go. Let's begin over at StarTech Stadium right here in Mansfield, where the Rams are looking to end the program's 18-game losing streak. Brian Harder, you're a former Madison Ram. How bad does that hurt, just hearing that number?
It's hard to watch when you see how they have struggled over the last several years, and you look back to the 90s when they were a playoff team every year, and to see this program struggle like this, it's extremely difficult.
And the Rams fell behind early in this one. This touchdown right here made it 20-zip in favor of the Vikings, and that was a sneaky little jet sweep, direct snap. Don't see that very often. It wasn't all bad, though, for the Gang Green here in the friendly confines, as taking this one all the way back to get Madison on the board. 85-yard return. It's Luke Hess, so at least some bright spots.
Nothing like special teams to get you going when your team is struggling, even if that's the only score you have on the night. It is something to build on for the Rams for next week.
It was the only score for the Rams, 42-7. They get beat. No points in the second half of this game. Rams 0-2 now. They've been outscored 90-15. The TY Tigers on the road up at Sandusky. Perkins looking to avoid a 0-2 start after Norwalk surprised them a bit last week. And let's just jump right into the good stuff. We're going to fast forward all the way to the fourth quarter. It's Angelo Gross from 1 yard out. This put the TY Tigers on top 14-7. It looked like they were going to hold on in regulation for the win, but here come the Pirates. Just 24 seconds to play, and DeQuise Clinton with the touchdown grab. And we are going into overtime, and the fans there up at Perkins, they're loving it. They're fired up. But the opening possession of overtime, this is just super gross, guys. Angelo to Elijah. He climbs the ladder. Mansfield Sr. goes up by a score, but the Pirates would answer right back. JaAndre Jackson, 19 yards. The Pater is going to send us into overtime number 2, where we pick things up with Angelo Gross. He's going to scramble and find a wide open Armin Hughley. What do you guys think about Angelo at quarterback this season?
I think he's making the most of an opportunity that he has, and he's just a tremendous athlete. And because of that, you don't have to be a great quarterback when you're a tremendous athlete. And the Tiger staff is they're using very, very well and getting the most out of that position with him playing.
That touchdown toss right there tied things up in triple overtime, but the third phase of the game, special teams wins it for the Tigers. They block the PAT, and they go on to win it 35-34 to get their first victory of the season. Let's go out to Lucas now, where the Cubs were looking for a 2-0 start, hosting Centerburg. And this team, man, what a run Lucas has been on over about the last 7-8 years.
They have been incredible, and you look at a small school like this and the class that they have had coming through the last couple of years, they're putting some talent on the field.
You want to talk about a stud? How about Jeb Grover, 70-yard touchdown scamper? This kid was huge all night. We were talking in the third quarter. What do you have? 3 carries for what?
3 carries, 131 yards in the third quarter alone.
Woo! He went for 254 scores on the ground, over 400 rush yards for the Tigers. But we're going to show some defensive plays because Effie James, I know you love these. And you got to love the way that the Cubs stood up. Centerburg scored a couple times in the first half. Nothing late in the game.
Absolutely. You got to love defensive play and the defensive push from the line. That starts everything. And the defensive linemen really don't get enough credit in high school football. They really they make the tempo or force the tempo of your football game. So when you get a good push like Lucas does, it usually leads to good defensive play.
42-14, the Cubs a big winner. They get to ring the victory bell out there in Lucas. The Ontario Warriors coming off of an upset win over Lexington in week 1, taking on Highland, a team they haven't beat since 1987, and that streak's going to continue. Fighting Scots ran it 66 times in this game for 375 yards. Here's Jack Weaver covering 43 of them, all the way to his happy place on the first drive. And then the very first offensive possession for the Warriors, it's a pick 6. Brock Bailey makes it 12-0, and it was 18-0 in a hurry, folks. Luckily for Ontario fans, they got this little guy named Owen Hatfield, and he happened right here in a major way, taking it all the way into the end zone, 70-yard touchdown reception. And this guy's listed at about 5'3", 130 pounds, but man, can he move. Coach, you had one of these last year in Brady Hill. How explosive is it to have a little guy that's got some shake to him?
Well, what it does is it creates matchup problems, because when you can get a guy like that with the ball in space, it's obvious to see watching him there run down the sideline. It's hard to find guys that can tackle him in space. High school kids struggle with tackling anyways. When you get a kid that's that elusive, very tough to game plan against.
That made it 18-16, but then a whole bunch of Scott scores after that. They roll 47-16, clocking the Warrior at their place as they fall to 1-1 on the season. And then finally, we saved the best for last. It is Shelby at Lexington. The Whippets looking to move to 2-0 on the season. And Coach, going into this game playing at Lex, how do you like that environment?
Yeah, we really liked this game. Going into it, it was 18-17 all the time. We had told our kids that, we met Lexington's backs were against the wall. They were going to come out fighting, and we knew that. And, I give Coach Gerhardt and his staff credit because their kids came out. They were really aggressive, played really, really hard. Very impressed with their game plan, and I thought they executed at a very high level.
That's Uriah Schwemley there with an interception early, and then Owen Fisher taking it into the end zone for the early lead. You got to love what you see from this kid. He runs really hard for a small guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Owen's he's continuing to grow. He's a sophomore. He's only going to get better. We think he can be the next great back at Shelby, and he's put in the time and effort to do that.
Here's Caden Berry ripping off a touchdown run for Big Lex, looking like a fidget spinner there. You see him spinning off a couple of tackles? That was pretty sweet. And then Cade Stover. This is the closest thing I think you can see to like Bigfoot in a high school football uniform. Look at how he just throws these young kids to the ground. It's not fair. It's really not. They were able to stop though. Number 8, they get it back, and here's Owen Fisher. Another explosive run.
Owen does a really nice job of finding little creases. That allows us to be a little bit sloppy at times at the point of attack when Owen can find those creases.
Touchdown toss, Tanner Stevens. 20 straight points here for the Shelby Whippets as they led 27-10. McGuire Albert right here. This is the run that made it that score. And now we are going to take you to late in the fourth quarter. Jacob Depperschmidt's going to hook up with Josh Aiello from 16 yards out. And all of a sudden, we got a game 27-24. Were you sweating it a little bit, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. We were in man, and got a young corner. Understand, kind of teaching him the difference between the zone coverage and the man concept there.